Welcome to the Reed Report. Appreciate you guys taking this time to hear me out here on the Reed Report. And today we are finally here, not at the Super Bowl just yet, but we are at the conference championship matchups. We got the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. And we also have the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Detroit Lions. It's still so surreal to me. Still so surreal that the Detroit Lions are here on this stage in the NFC championship game, their first conference championship game since 1991. Meanwhile, the 49ers have played, and this will be number 7 since 2011. They 3 under Harbaugh and 4 under Shanahan, the current regime. And we also, again, got the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens. This is Kansas City's 6th consecutive straight conference championship in a row. I know I said the same thing like 3 times. But yeah, this is number 6 in a row for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the Ravens' first, I believe, since they last won the Super Bowl in 2012? It's probably the first one since, because they haven't been under Lamar Jackson, because they lost to San Diego or Los Angeles in 2018 in the wild card round, lost to the Titans in the division round in 2019. Yeah, this is their first one since their Super Bowl run. First conference championship. This is Lamar's first. And of course, last week we had the divisional round matchups. I'll go recap quickly how I did on those. Baltimore Ravens beat down the Houston Texans as I predicted. I forgot exactly my final score. I didn't put it in my notes, but I believe I said like 38-24 Ravens or something. But the Ravens beat them 34-10. The Ravens defense didn't allow a touchdown on offense from the Texans offense, that is. They only allowed that punt return. And we knew, you know what I'm saying, some people were hesitant to count out C.J. Stroud, but at the end of the day, man, this Ravens team is just an all-around great team. No, Lamar isn't, you know what I'm saying, throwing 50 touchdowns, or even, what did he throw in his MVP year in 2019? Like 38 touchdowns. He's not even doing that, but he has the quality of victories. You know what I'm saying? He's beaten the likes of, you know, earlier on, Tua was in the MVP race. They destroyed them. He's beaten the 49ers the week prior. He beat the Rams. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have anyone in the MVP race, but still a playoff team, a quality team. Jacksonville at the time was a quality, you know what I'm saying? We thought they were a lock to go to the playoffs. He beat them. Also, the Bengals, no Joe Burrow, but I believe Joe was in the second game, and he beat them in the second week. C.J. Stroud, someone who was earlier on talked about in the MVP case, he beat them in week 1. Beat the Browns, also lost to the Browns, but beat the Browns, and they destroyed the Detroit Lions, destroyed the Seattle Seahawks. Baltimore lost 2 games this year in which they should have won. The Colts game, they lost 22-19. The Steelers game, 17-10. They also lost to the Browns. That one they could have won. But the Steelers and Colts game, they should have won those games. I'm not counting the Steelers game from week 18 because the starters didn't play. But yeah, this Ravens team is just an all-around team. They're all-around great team. And we're going to get into the prediction, of course. But I think if you've seen my videos, you know which way I'm leaning for the predictions. You know which way I'm leaning. We also had the Packers and the 49ers. This was in the divisional round matchup. This was a matchup that I thought San Francisco would win handily. The final score I predicted was 34 San Francisco, 14 Green Bay, because, you know, I was just under the mindset that San Francisco is not Dallas. They're not Dallas. No, the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl either since 1994, Dallas since 95, but the 49ers have been on the stage. They've been on the conference championship scene 7 times since 2011. 7 times. This is their 4th time coming up in 5 seasons. They've been to 2 Super Bowls recently. And we ain't got to go back to 2012. We can just talk about recently. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've been close to winning the Super Bowl. But like I said, they're not Dallas. That was my line of thinking. But Green Bay, they didn't prove me all the way wrong because they didn't win the game, but they proved me wrong, and I think more so it was also they just couldn't capitalize, the Packers, and that just shows you all the, you know what I'm saying, the mistakes of the youth. They didn't capitalize. They should have won this game. If I'm gonna say the Ravens should have beat the Colts and Steelers, I saw those two games and I saw the Niners-Packer game, and I would classify that one in the same category, that Green Bay should have won this game against San Francisco. They had all the opportunities. The 49ers more so escaped the Green Bay Packers. They won the game, but they escaped with a victory. We could very well be sitting here with an NFC North championship game. NFC North, NFC championship game. Packers and Lions, rivalry renewed. But the 49ers did get the win. As predicted, they are advancing to the NFC Championship game. They're fourth in 5 years, looking to make it back to the Super Bowl, where they can either avenge a loss to the Chiefs or avenge a loss to the Ravens. The 49ers, like I said, has played in 2 Super Bowls since, you know what I'm saying, in 2012 and a few years ago in 2019. And the 2 teams that are in the AFC, those are the 2 teams they lost to. Now, more so the Chiefs are the team they lost to, and the 49ers, that one was more recent, and there are more guys on this 49er team, and I don't think there's not one guy on the 49er roster that was on that Ravens, that played in that Ravens-Niners Super Bowl back in 2012. But I'm sure somebody will fact check me on that if that's incorrect. But football, you don't have a long shelf life, and 2012 was a long time ago. A lot of guys that are not even in the league anymore. But we also had Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions advancing to the NFC Championship game, their first since 1991. Is still so surreal. Detroit Lions beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-23. I predicted Lions, but my final score was 31-27, so I was close on that one. And I did say Detroit would hold at the end to close out the game, and that they did. Wasn't too shocked on this game. Tampa did have a chance, even before the final drive. I still don't understand the decision to go for 2. I understand what the stats, the analytics, and all that crazy stuff say, but kick the field goal, kick the extra point. It didn't come down to it. It didn't make a difference because Detroit held at the end, but it was just frustrating to see that, and for Chris Collinsworth to be co-signing it. Of course, I think he is, he's like owner or part owner or whatever, has stake in Pro Football Focus, where they're all about analytics and things like that. But I didn't want to hear it. Kick the extra point. But like I said, that wasn't the only thing. Baker threw 2 interceptions. Well, the one that on the final drive. And they just, Detroit was just hot. Detroit was hot. They were at home, and the crowd is not going to come down from that high just because they got it in the Rams wild card game. It's been years since they've been on this stage and been at home. This was their first playoff game at Ford Field, at the stadium they're in. The stadium they're in has never had a playoff game, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw that on the internet. They've never had a playoff game, but that arena has hosted things like Super Bowl 40 between the Steelers and Seahawks. WWE was WrestleMania 23, but the Detroit Lions have never been on that stage in their own stadium, and they finally got to experience it, and you just know they weren't coming down from that high after that Rams game. They were going to stay riding high, and I can imagine that this Sunday, even though the game would be in San Francisco, they're going to have fans in that stadium watching on the Jumbotron. But that was a good win. It was great even as a fan to see, a football fan, just to see, all those fans in there emotional and enjoying seeing their team here for the first time in a long time. Last game of the divisional round, we had the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. And this was one that I thought Buffalo would win. I had the Bills winning this game 27-23, but the final score was 27-24 Chiefs. Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo. No one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. It's just, you had Patrick Mahomes on the road, Buffalo. You had the game. Allen played a dope game. He played a really good game. The Bills should have won this game. If there was ever a time you were going to dethrone Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, this was it. And you were at home. You had this guy on playing in his first road playoff game in his career. And you guys lose. I saw all the Chiefs. My thing going into this game were the Chiefs' second half struggles. Again, they played in 8 games this year in which they scored no touchdowns in the second half. They went 3 straight games without scoring any points at all in the second half of a game. That was against the Dolphins. They won that game. The Eagles, they lost that one. And who was the other team? The Broncos first. It was the Broncos first, a game they lost 24-9. Then the Dolphins, they won, and Eagles, they lost. 3 straight games where the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, didn't score in the second half. And if this counts for anything, they went 5 games. 5 games in which they only scored 1 touchdown in the second half. But yet, when it counted that most, they still found a way to pull it out against the Bills. They still found a way to pull out the game, and the Buffalo Bills subject is for another day, but Kansas City advanced. So I went 3-1 in my predictions for the divisional round. The Bills are the only team that let me down. So now we're here in the conference championship matchups, the final 4. So without further ado, let's get into predictions. Let's get into it. First game of our conference championship matchups, we have the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Baltimore favorite, I believe, by 3.5 or 3. They're giving them the home favorite. Let's see, in this game, are they going to show the line? I don't see. Yeah, 3.5. They're favored by 3.5 to win this game. And again, this is Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson's first ever postseason matchup. We know that we can say, like in my opinion, and I don't want to sell Joe Burrow short because he is a great quarterback, but in a way, like where I'm leaning on this is Lamar got hurt the last 2 seasons at the end of the year or towards the end of the season. They were riding high at 8-3 back in 21. He got hurt, didn't play another game. They didn't win another game. They finished like 8-9. But last year they did make the playoffs with no Lamar and lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. In both those years, Cincinnati were the team that advanced to play the Chiefs in the conference championship game. One of those years they beat the Chiefs in 2021 where they made it to the Super Bowl. And I was just of the mindset, especially that first year, that, you know what I'm saying, had Lamar not got injured, that would have been him. Not saying the Bengals aren't great, not saying Burrow's not great, but I just believe that much in Lamar Jackson. Last year, it was a close game between the Ravens and Bengals, and the Bengals ran back like a fumble for a touchdown to seal the game. What would the outcome have been had Lamar not gotten hurt? I know we're in what ifs, but I'm just saying, where the Ravens dropped the ball, the Bengals picked it up, and they did do a good job for the most part because they made it to 2 conference championships, won one, and was close to winning the Super Bowl. But now Lamar is finally here, and he can right those wrongs. He can show everyone that, hey, had I not gotten injured those last 2 years, it would have been me instead of Joe Burrow. These 2 teams are in the same division, but now Lamar, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's finally here. He's finally on this stage. He's 3-1 in his career versus Pat Mahomes. This is the regular season. Again, this is their first postseason matchups. He's not 3-1 against Mahomes. Mahomes is 3-1 against him. Correction. And this is their first, like I said, postseason matchup. Again, we talked about the Bills. We talked about Mahomes versus the Bills. They pulled one out when I thought they would lose that game. It just didn't seem like the same old Chiefs. He threw interceptions at a clip I've never seen him throwing before in the regular season. And then we got the Ravens who beat the Texans, and they looked like the same team that we saw in the regular season, just the best team all around. People thought that the San Francisco 49ers were the big bad bullies of the NFL. I was going to say AFC, but they're not even in the AFC, but the NFL in general. But the 49ers went in there and beat them down and proved otherwise when a lot of people thought the Ravens beat them down, I should say. When a lot of people thought the 49ers were going to walk them. This is, I think it was a Christmas night game. And it was tailor-made to where you just like, all right, the Ravens are a good team, but it just felt like, oh, San Francisco, and this was not my line of thinking. It just felt like San Francisco was going to blow them out the water, and people were going to say, oh yeah, the 49ers are shoo-in for the Super Bowl. If they can do this to the Ravens, nobody stands a chance. But the Ravens went in there and forced Brock Purdy to throw 4 picks, and they looked like that same team in the division run against the Texans. And the Chiefs didn't look bad against the Bills. Their offense looked the best I've seen it in a long time. Kansas City, that is. When we know the history or what they went through this regular season, dropping passes and just not looking right, which was why I thought Buffalo had this game. But I'm going to take the Ravens, of course, over the Chiefs to win this game because Buffalo was beat up on defense. And I'm not making an excuse for them because they were still in the game. It was still close. But they were beat up on defense. And yet they still had a chance to win. But I just think the looks that Baltimore can throw and will throw at Pat Mahomes, I think that will be enough to really it'll be enough to stop Pat Mahomes. I know it's tough betting against him, and I know in the last video, you know what I'm saying, it was the same thing. It was just like my line of thinking has always been, until somebody do it, I'm not going to pick against them. But I've been riding with the Ravens all season long. I said back in September they would win. They would not win the Super Bowl, but I thought they would make the Super Bowl and lose to the Eagles. Eagles not even here anymore. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that, and I'm not sticking with it. I'm not saying I'm sticking with it just because it was my preseason pick, but because I just believe in the Baltimore Ravens that much, and they haven't proved that I should believe otherwise because they look great against Houston. They look great against Houston. They're at home playing for the right to go to the Super Bowl. This is Lamar's time. It just feels like this is his time. Pat Mahomes is on a familiar stage, yes, but I'm going to take the Ravens to win this game. I think they win at 30-21. I think the Chiefs are going to be down 27-21. They're going to be driving the ball, trying to take the lead, but the Ravens are going to come up with a turnover, eventually just kick a field goal and pretty much seal it from there. So I'm going to take Baltimore over Kansas City 30-21. Ravens advance to Vegas to play who in the Super Bowl? We got the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game. So surreal. Detroit, a team that went 0-16 in 2008, and this is coming off the year where the Patriots went 16-0, and then the very next year you had a team that go 0-16 in the Detroit Lions. So they've been through a lot, the Detroit Lions. They've been through a lot of just flat out to where they were just an embarrassment, the laughing stock for the most part, all the way to finally being on this stage. And this is what happens when you have patience with a coach, when you draft well and you know what you're doing at the top of management. You know what you're doing at the GM position. You don't have an owner like the Panthers who are in the way, in the Cowboys, who are in the way of what management is trying to do. You let the football guys build a team. You take care of everything else. Stop trying to be famous. This is something that Detroit has done great, and it has paid off. Win or lose, it has paid off, and it can only get better from here. If they do lose, which I'm predicting the Niners to win. I'll just say that right now, but we'll get into that. The Niners are a team that I had in the NFC Championship game losing to the Eagles during my preseason predictions. But Philly was just not the same Eagles. They were just not the same Eagles, and the Niners were the same Niners. 12-5, clinched the 1 seed And they have a chance to right or wrong too. You know what I'm saying? They said that had they had Brock Purdy, had he not gotten injured in the beginning of the Eagles game last year, they would have won. They would have won the NFC Championship and gone on to play the Chiefs again in the Super Bowl. But unfortunately, injuries are part of the game. And just like Lamar, they have a chance to right or wrong. They have a chance to prove us all wrong. They're at home. You know what I'm saying? They're at home. The road to the Super Bowl goes to Santa Clara. And they got the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship with a chance to right this wrong. 49ers, like I said, did beat the Packers, escaped the Packers. And I will say this. There's a lot of people who don't see it the way that I see it when it comes to the Niner-Packer game. They just see it as the Niners won, and they're not looking at it from the standpoint that, hey, you guys can't make those mistakes again. The chances of you making those mistakes again and winning as the stage get bigger, are very slim to none. You got away with one against Green Bay. I'm not so sure you could get away with one against Detroit if you play like that. If you play that way, like you did against the Packers, I'm not so sure. Then you got the Lions. Both their games in the playoffs have been close. The Rams one was closer. But you know what I'm saying? They didn't just run away with it, but you never felt that they were like really out of it because they never let the team get up on them by multiple possessions, the Rams or Bucks. So even though that was the case, that the games were close, the Lions were still away. You know what I'm saying? They were still in control of the games. So in this game, we got Jared Goff, Detroit Lions quarterback versus Brock Purdy, San Francisco 49ers quarterback. And I just think that the 49ers, they will answer that wake-up call that they got against the Green Bay Packers. They will answer that wake-up call, and I think the 49ers are going to win this game and advance to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to play a complete game to where we say that's the game they should have brought against the Packers, and that's the game they need to bring against the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Because if they play a complete game against the Detroit Lions and then bring back that game against the Packers, the Ravens are going to walk them in the Super Bowl. They're going to walk them. But we'll get to there next week. We'll get to there, not even next week, the week after, because there is an extra week, a bye week, leading up to the Super Bowl. But I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers to win this game, and my final score is going to be 49ers 38, Detroit 24. I got the 49ers avenging last year's NFC Championship loss, where they will advance to the Super Bowl and play the Ravens in a 2012 Super Bowl rematch. So, in Vegas. So give me San Francisco in this game. It was a great run for Detroit, and it was a great run for the Chiefs. But these will be the teams, the Ravens and Niners, that will meet in the Super Bowl. Appreciate you guys taking this time to hear me out. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. Who do you think is going to the Super Bowl? Who do you think is going to win these conference championship games? And also vote on the community tab. I do have a poll up of both conference championship matchups. So vote and let me know who you guys think will win and advance. Until then, take care. Be safe.